Happy 10th birthday, Simple Politics. Welcome to the Simple Politics podcast. I'm Tiernan, a comedian and writer, and I am your guest host for this week's episode. As someone who has popped into the history of Simple Politics on regular occasion, quite like that rat in Horrible Histories. And Simple Politics is 10 years old today, which means I think it's in year 5, learning about Vikings and being told off for having far too much screen time. And what an incredible 10 years it's been. I mean, could you imagine a quieter and more nothingy 10 years to do something like Simple Politics in? I mean, barely anything's happened, nothing memorable at all. It's just been very calm, I think. So over this podcast, we're probably just going to chill out, not really talk about much. Very, very quiet since 2015. Simple Politics is... It's very exciting. Tatton, it is 10 years old today. How do you feel? When this started, you were a sprightly youth back in 2015. What were you, just finishing school?
Yeah. Just finishing. Well, in fact, I just stopped teaching. So in a way, I had finished
You
school.
had just finished school. There you go. See, I was right in a way.
Yeah. I mean, just 10 years, man. It's a long time.
It is a long time. Do you feel, I feel 10 years older, very much in the way that sometimes I wake up and I've injured my leg just because I've been asleep. But it's, 10 years is a long time. I mean, that's very impressive that Simple Politics has now gone on for a decade. How many followers did Simple Politics have 10 years ago? None, because you just started.
Literally
that's
none.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When you start something, there's a big zero. It started as a website. And nobody came to the website. And I was all clever and got my Google Analytics all set up. And it just repeatedly told me, no one's here. And I was like, I haven't set it up right. If I just redo the setting upness, I'll see the thousands. No.
It's where I think Google Analytics falls down. Is it could be a little bit more hopeful at the start. It's like, someone will. I'm sure they're here any minute now. A bit like a party, and you're waiting for the first person. Google should be a little bit more supportive, I think.
I went to a school the other day, to a school assembly session thing, and we're talking about ways that the school could help people with their mental health. And a child said we should start every day with a motivational quote. And I thought that was A, cute, and B, the worst idea in the history of ideas.
So you didn't start Simple Politics with a motivational quote?
Yeah, I started Simple Politics sobbing. Like it started because I had a breakdown and I couldn't work anymore. And it was just this kind of it was a lie I told myself. Oh, this is real work. This is a thing. You're working on a thing here. Oh, and it was just me in a very different. Listen, my life since then, I was in a shed, miserable, in the living with my now ex-wife with 2 children, and no diagnoses and no meds. And now I'm in a different place, physically, mentally. Different shed.
Different shed.
I'm engaged to get married. Again. And life is completely different, and it is better in every way.
Can I ask, as someone who's dipped in and out of this is Kobe here, when you said you started it hoping it would be a thing, clearly it has become a thing. At what point do you realize it became a thing?
Everything changed at COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, we kept on, like Hattie, you'll remember, we would hit 20,000 followers and we were like, oh my goodness, we've hit 20,000 followers. And we would have these moments along the way that felt important and were important, I guess. Like they were important. Just because the numbers are bigger now doesn't devalue the importance of those steps along the way. So I think, Hattie, you felt we were a real thing well before I did.
I think we were. I genuinely think we were. So Hattie here, I was Simple Politics. We're yet to determine whether it was 2015 or 2016. I think it was 2016 to 2019. I'm like 99% sure that it is.
But early, right? Early.
Early. And nothing happened in those years.
Super quiet.
It's really quiet.
Super quiet. Yeah. I mean, I should just say, I think we should go from the top. It's been 10 years, and I barely remember things that happened last week. So there's a lot to fit in here, and I was tempted as well. To go for a sort of "This Is Your Life" and go, Tatton, recognise this voice, and I realised you see everyone's picture on the call and their names, and you invited them. It would be terrible. But I think let's start from the very top. Tatton, why did you set up Simple Politics? What, you said you weren't in a great place at the time. You were in a different shed to the one you're in now. What made you go, this site needs to happen?
Well, the first moment. It depends how far back. We haven't got that much time. But when I worked at Parliament, I was in the education service at Parliament, teaching kids how to do Parliament stuff when they came on a school trip, right? And we weren't allowed to talk about any policy because it had to be just procedure. And I was like, this is nonsense. No one gets engaged by procedure. No one's going to carry on with. We can do better than this, was a thought I had for a long time. And then when I moved to Kent and was having a terrible time, there's an education bill going through Parliament, which was the one that changed grades at GCSE from letters to numbers. I still don't understand why, but that's what the bill was. And I didn't understand it. And so I hit Google for Google to tell me what it meant. And I still couldn't find anything. And I was like, that's rubbish. Why is no one explaining? These are the most important changes. I'm a teacher. I need to know this. No one's telling me. And that was like, yeah. And then when things were falling apart, I needed something to go to. So yeah, I went part-time at school and bummed. This is 2014. Bummed out.
I mean, it is remarkable. Sort of, we've been hinting at the fact that the really quiet 2015. But I mean, obviously, the next 10 years were pretty tumultuous. And Hattie, so that was about when you joined. I mean, I feel like Simple Politics really arrived at a time when everyone very much needed someone to explain what on earth was going on, particularly sort of post 2015 election, particularly in the run up to Brexit.
Yeah, I think that's the point where you couldn't avoid politics. I think you just couldn't get away from it. I mean, the discussion about Brexit and the EU, maybe there wasn't as much conversation in that 2015 period of time, but I think the second that the vote happened, the second that we were deciding that we were going to leave, I think there was something that clicked in everybody going, oh my God, like, what does this actually mean? All these things that we have just grown up with, maybe taken for granted. And now there's going to be a shift. And what is my life going to look like? And there's a lot of kind of political noise. I think and there were multiple prime ministers, I think, in the time that I was
many
prime ministers, a couple of elections, so much of this very complex legislation that was going through. Mm-hmm. And I think the early stages were a lot more about kind of explaining, just trying to rapidly just explain what the hell's going on, because I think multiple bills were passing through the House. There were multiple debates. I mean, Tatton, we were covering it from like 7 o'clock in the morning. You're turning on the Radio 4 Today program till, I mean, they were sitting till at points 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. It was unbelievably intense. And I think at the time you're kind of thinking, absolutely everything is really important. We need to explain this. Like right now, I think with a bit of hindsight, you can kind of realize, okay, that bit was important, but this bit probably wasn't. People probably didn't care about this like very minute bit of legislation, but you're so wrapped up in the whole thing of it that you're just like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to explain this to the whole world and they need to know. And I think people were really grateful for that at the time, because there wasn't anything out there doing it. I mean, there wasn't really many. Now you see a lot more BBC explainers. I mean, social media is now full of content creators, influencers who want to kind of have their piece. But I think at that point, there wasn't really anything like Simple Politics. And I think it just so happened that it was perfect timing to set up this thing that people were actually genuinely looking for. and it's not like we had anything, now you can kind of at least go into Google and you can go like AI or ChatGPT, what is happening? And it kind of breaks down everything.
And they'll tell you something it's made up, and then you'll still have to go to Simple Politics because that's where they tell you properly. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, and I don't mean to sort of bring up a very sad thing that happened during those 10 years, but Tatton, do you remember the first time we were meant to work together? It was for a panel that you set up in Whitstable to discuss upcoming Brexit, and it was the very day that horrifically Jo Cox was assassinated. So you very wisely called it off. But that was the first time that I was meant to be working with you at the time as the sort of light relief on the panel of politicians.
It was we had campaigners and campaigner and comedian on both sides, and you were the Remain side.
I was, yeah,
and the comedian on the Leave side still insisted his invoice was paid in full. Not that I'm bitter 9 years later.
That's a professional comic right there.
But that was us trying to do things differently. Hattie and I were really working out what SP was and what SP meant, and like you say, Hattie, all that coverage and what we did in the 2017 general election, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute, it demonstrates how little we did know about what SP was and how unexpert, I don't know what I'm trying to say, and like I wasn't a very good leader at that point because I didn't know what we were doing. You were younger back then.
and you weren't, Tatton. Yeah.
No, do you want to know something? I think I'm like now roughly the same age that Tatton was when he set up SP, which I don't know whether, is that worse for me or is that worse for you?
I don't know what you're getting at, Hattie. I don't know. It sounds like...
So you're 34 now?
No, I'm 32.
Oh, right. So, yeah. But that's the thing. So when we were doing these things, like you were early, mid-20s, right? So it was really difficult to find that experience and that understanding when I wasn't dealing with it, and I was in all kinds of trouble with my mental health anyway. Like, it was all... SPs always come from chaos, right? All of us have found ourselves going, well, I don't know what we're doing. Like, and you're right, there was no competition, but which is great for us, but it was also meant there was nothing to compare ourselves to. There was nothing to work out whether what was important and what wasn't. And those Brexit days were so technical. You could get into go down these complete rabbit holes of parliamentary procedure because that's what they're talking about in the Commons. And we thought that mattered, where actually no one else cared about parliamentary procedure.
It was very complicated times. So during that period as well, me and you, Tatton, we did a show explaining politics to kids. And by I say we did a show, you explained politics to kids. I put up pictures of cats wearing silly outfits. And at one point, I remember we thought we'd better add how to explain Brexit to a family audience. And it involved me running around screaming, and then you very calmly going, "Oh no, this is actually what it is." And it was. I remember a lot of people coming up afterwards going, "I wish you'd do this for adults," which you were doing it at the time for adults via Simple Politics. But it was so. No one seemed to have a clue.
No, but Hattie and I spent a day in London writing educational resources that then went up in the TES, and they were used thousands and thousands and thousands of times. But again, because of our inexperience, we didn't get anything from it. We hadn't linked to the page. We hadn't put a bar to coffee. There was nothing on it that benefited us in any way. But it was still really useful, and people really liked it. So it's still worth doing. Just these days,
you benefited in karma points.
That Pearly Gates. When is the Pearly Gates time? We're getting in.
So let's. So Hattie, you were with Simple Politics until 2019.
Yes. So what have we dealt with? So we dealt with Brexit, and we dealt with all the various different elections and snap elections and everything, and
Corbyn mania.
Yeah. You know what we could have done with? We could have done with like Deloitte or McKinsey coming and giving us a bit of like consulting, sending us on our way. But it was a learning curve, and also I would say it's like definitely has set me up. Like everybody that I know follows Simple Politics. You know, like so now I work in government and people follow it. You know, it's not like it's kind of seen as something that people read because you're consumed by so much information every single day that actually your officials are going to Simple Politics at the end of the day just to be like, oh, what actually happened?
What am I doing? Yeah. What am I doing? I'd better check Simple Politics. I find that very reassuring. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, isn't that brilliant that it set you on that path? Well, I mean, I knew you were already very interested in politics and doing politics, but it set you on that path. And then, so Hattie, once you moved on to work, is that right? You worked for NATO? Did you move on to NATO? Is that right?
So I work for the Foreign Office.
Right,
I was working at NATO, but for the Foreign Office.
Yeah.
And then now I'm back in London working for the Foreign Office.
Amazing. And so you went off to do that, and then in stepped Diane. Lily? No, she's on mute. She did not. Very silently.
Hello.
She snuck in.
That was as professional as my time still with them.
I'm getting a rolling theme here. It's
I mean, that's really the theme.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I came in very short term, didn't think I'd stick around, and basically to help cover and do a bit of research for Tatton and draft some posts for the 2019 election, which was Boris Johnson's big one.
That was because Hattie and I had such a nightmare 2017.
Yeah.
Like 2017 literally nearly killed me. Like, I don't want to tell you how nearly it killed me. It was very, very difficult. So when 2019 was coming, it was, we need help. And you weren't alone, were you, Diane?
No, we had a little team. Callum and another girl whose name I forget, but was really good as well. And we were a little team, like drafting things and just looking at policy comparisons. That was it, all the way through that election. And then I sort of at some point said, "Oh, this is great. I love this. Can I stay?" And Tatton wasn't that sure at the time. He was like, not sure what I'm going to do with the page. Boris Johnson's got a huge majority. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to be really dull. I think I might have done all I can with it. And then we got to January and people started talking about COVID coming. And the slow creep of that then through to March was made us realize that actually...
I don't want to blame anyone, but Tatton, it really feels like you jinxed us there. Thanks very much for that.
I had a nice Christmas, in Wuhan, and then came home. You can't blame me for anything. No, I tell you, I was doing a show with Tiernan in schools up north. Chorley, in fact, was one of them.
We were in Chorley.
And there was government guidance about what you should do. Well before the lockdowns, there was government guidance of what you should do. And we were sat in our separate hotel rooms. Tiernan wanted like 2 hours. And I was like, what am I going to do for 2 hours? So I sat down and wrote a post about what the government was saying. And it went wild. Like, honestly, one of the biggest posts we've ever done. I certainly had ever done at that point. I was like, oh, people really want us to talk about the vaccine. That's really what people want. And at this point, it was close. So when it's a 5-6 hour drive home from Chorley to where I am. It was the best drive I've ever had. There was nobody on the roads, like literally nobody. There was not one queue. It was great. But that was the time I realized that we had a role to play here. Like this,
I have to say that it was a really strange. You and me were doing a run of these school shows up north, and every day we were going, "Oh, it seems to be even quieter around here." Oh, wow, York's normally very busy. Oh, Chorley seems very quiet. And then we went, "Oh yeah, we have to go home now. This is quite serious."
They were playing football without crowds in the pub, on the telly, like, and it was like, that's so odd to look at that. It was right on the cusp, yeah. But that realization, because I hadn't been sure about what to do. It was kind of Boxing Day, Diane. I was texting you about. I don't know. We just hit 100,000 on Instagram, and I was like, well, that was a good total. Good, nice round total. Maybe it's time to walk away. And we didn't, did we?
No, we didn't. And I'm really glad we didn't, because not only did it help readers of the page with all the rules and COVID stuff, but actually I think that I needed it going through COVID as well. Just the coming in every day and having a purpose and something to do and think about while the world was seemingly in complete free fall. So I mean, we did every press conference. We did every one of the big 5 p.m. press conferences. And, some of those decisions that we made around that time were just so like on the hop, like you talked about with Hattie and what you covered with Brexit, like just on the hop kind of decisions. And one of them that really sticks with me is every night when you turned on at 5 p.m, they would, some official from the government would come on and they would give numbers. They would say the death toll today is X. And we decided really early on we weren't going to include that figure. And people really appreciated that, because it was actually a really stark thing to have at the top of the page, or to turn on and switch on every night and hear. And it also reduced everything to numbers and all the rest of it, but we didn't do it. And a lot of people said that they could read our stuff and our bullet points because we didn't have that at the top. So just things like that were really interesting as we went.
We tried to tell a very human story of COVID, about what you could do and what you couldn't do. And I think it's really interesting to talk about Hattie there, Diane, because I think with Hattie and Brexit in 2017, we were trying to cover everything. And people liked it that we did. That's what kind of helped people bring things in. But with COVID, we deliberately didn't cover everything. We deliberately cut that stuff out. And it's still like at the 5 p.m. briefings, Diane is, as you know, lovely listener, Diane is much better at clear, focused information than I am. So she did almost all the 5 o'clock briefings. In fact, I remember when she couldn't do one, I was like, what? I was terrified. But I live by the sea, and after that 5 p.m. briefing, I illegally walked out my door and sat on the beach on my own and cried and listened to music. And that was the day. I like by that stage, the kids had gone back to their mothers. They were with me for afternoon homeschool. We didn't have enough rooms, so Felix, my youngest, did his homeschool story time at the end of the day, sat on the loo, because it didn't have a big enough house, too many children, not enough rooms. But that was it. I mean, it was grueling. We didn't have the hardest lockdown. People had it much, much, much tougher than us. But it was grueling and it was hard, and I think I'm proud of what we did.
I mean, it's still a truly, just the fact it was only a few years ago, and it was so weird. And I think often we don't stop and go, wasn't that the strangest, weirdest time? And also, I want to point out that counts as a confession, and you will be getting your £10,000 fine delayed through the post now by admitting to that on audio. So during that time, obviously, COVID, it wasn't just COVID, it was also the US election happened in 2020, which is when I believe, Charlotte, you joined to explain what on earth that was, which I think is also incredibly useful because, as we're going through again now, we get so much news about the US, and to try and understand US politics is, I find, one of the most confusing and difficult things as someone in the UK. So you came aboard Simple Politics then?
Yes, for 10 weeks to explain the election. And it was a bit of a challenge because obviously being impartial is it is very difficult to both be impartial and appear impartial when one of the candidates is someone as unusual as Donald Trump. Remaining impartial again there. But yeah, also just America is so weird, and there's so many things that we think we understand it, but we don't. And so just trying to explain the backstory to everything, like the context of the policy comparisons and things like that, as well as the actual policy comparisons, was a challenge, but we did it. It was all right.
And was this something you had knowledge of before you joined? So you came in as a US expert because you knew the system?
I knew a bit. I'd lived there for a year. I had to buy US Government for Dummies when I found out I'd got an interview. And then read it very thoroughly when I got the job.
Is this the first time you've heard this, Tatton, that basically Simple Politics was run by US Government for Dummies?
No, because the point is, it might be actually, but look around the people on this call, right? Everyone is SP, right? You've got SP going on. Charlotte, I was going to get one person on to do the US elections. And about 10 minutes into the interview with Charlotte, I was just like, oh. And so Charlotte's like talking to me, and I'm just trying to do some maths quickly about the limited resource we've got. I invited Charlotte to join Team SP halfway through our interview. Because we are about humanity, and we are about us and silliness and important things and all of those. And all of us are the ones that have made SP what it is, and it's because of who we are, not necessarily all the knowledge that we've got. You might need to swat up on procedure in the Senate. That's fine. If you've got personality and you write a post, and you can be self-deprecating and self-confident and informative and silly and all of those things and all the things in between that makes SP. I want you on the team.
Joe, I just have to say that, and I think one of the reasons that we like working with you so much is, I don't know if anyone else had that fear, but I thought you were going to say, look at all of us here on the call, dummies, and I was about to get very upset. But I'm very pleased you avoided that.
I just thought it'd be a really bad joke, too. So
that's normally what you go for, though. But that's what it is about. So after the election, for some reason, Tatton asked me to stay, and a lot of my job at that point was answering DMs about the pandemic. So I'd wake up to 100 messages a day asking about very specific circumstances. And so I was going through all the fine details and pulling out different guidance to try and answer their question.
Because there was nowhere else to go. There was nowhere else to go. The government didn't have that service. So people were using us as that service.
Yeah. SP, we don't pretend to be experts about everything. It's more about interpreting that for the right audience. That's what
people need that. I think that's incredibly reassuring, and to know that there are people that are caring about it and doing it and providing that as a service. I think, like you said, it wasn't being provided by the people that probably should have been at the time, and so we were coming to you, and I think that's fantastically necessary. And one of the reasons I think that you've continued, SP's continued to grow over 10 years.
It's just about humanity, isn't it? We try to put everything through a human filter. Everything that we put out, and we can demonstrate that, like I say, in lots of different forms of humanity. But it's that makes it. That's what we've done since. I found my first weekly email the other day from November 2015, where I was trying to explain the trade unions bill that was going through Parliament at the time. And it's even then, I was just trying to filter. And obviously, you've all helped SP and me do that better over time. But that's the story. And I used to always say that SP shouldn't exist because the government should be doing what we do. The government should be putting out the information the way we do. But now I don't think that's true. I don't think it's possible for government to do that. I think they need to be less human. I think it needs to be more legal and less human, and it needs to be some kind of charity or free market thing that does it instead. Now, we're neither of those things, and our money's stupid, but I think we should exist. And I think, what Charlotte was doing over COVID, just talking to people, listening to people and talking to people, was so valuable.
Well, I think it comes down to something that you've always done with SP, but politics affects people, so you have to have the human side of it to say, this is how it affects you. This is what it means to you. This is what it means to you as people that are having to deal with this, that are dealing with the implications of this. And even though you say the government, it isn't their job, but it's necessary for someone like yourselves to be doing it, so that people get what it means for them.
I think the BBC and Sky should be doing it better than they are. Even if the government can't, the people with money and resources could be.
That's fair. But then if we move on, it was Kobe. You then when did you join the SP train, the SP Congo?
Pandemic, baby.
Pandemic times.
Yeah. So I think I was one of the people who, I'm not sure if I joined or started following around Brexit, but then I didn't do much on Instagram. And then saw just the amount of phenomenal insight and breakdown and, again, humanity that's coming through Simple Politics. And then I did a quick search and saw that there was previously an SP podcast, but then it kind of faded away. Pod fade is a term which I've learned recently. And then I reached out to Tatton, and Diane was on the reply, so I'm not sure if I reached out to Diane as well, but I said, guys, you need a podcast. I make podcasts. Do you want to chat about it? And then I think like a day or two later, we were talking about podcasts, and the whole thing took off from there, basically. And I never expected to be the host, because I know zero. I know the ziltist about politics from everyone here.
But I tell you what, this is something that I think we've always done quite well, which is move fast. Because it's just us. If we decide to do something, we can get it done that day. An hour later, it can be up. It can be a post. It could be a new project. It could be a podcast. It could be whatever. So when you get in touch and go, oh, let's do it, we did it. Like just like that.
Yeah. No, and it's been great fun. And I've had, so to echo what Hattie was saying, I think I was one of those people who was catalyzed by Brexit. I was one of those people who, prior to Brexit, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, it'll be what it'll be. It's fine. But then that was a point where I realized these things do matter if you don't participate, or if you don't make your voice heard in any way, shape, or form, then you really aren't contributing in the way that you can be doing, or you're letting other people guide what happens to you in your life and the people who you're very much, who your family and friends. And that changed me definitely into a different type of political animal. I mean, I'd always voted before, but I really didn't care who won previously. I was just like, it's all going to be the same nonsense. And that changed after Brexit.
Yeah, it was a big sign.
Can I just add a little SP podcast fact that I really enjoy?
Ooh,
so the host before Kobe, in I think the second iteration of the podcast, Olivia, was my best friend's flatmate before me. So 2 hosts of the SP podcast hosted from the same room in this random flat in Salford. And I had no idea at the time, because I've never met her.
Yeah.
And my best friend always talked about her flatmate Liv, and I listened to the podcast and it was Olivia. So no. And then, as I was moving in, I can't remember how I made the connection, but so there we go. Nice little small world.
That is a monumental room. That needs to be, in the next 10 years, you need to move the whole podcast to that room.
There'll be a song by Lin-Manuel Miranda with the room where it happens.
It's the next natural step, definitely.
Polycast.
You could get one of those blue plaques.
Yeah.
Two of them. Yeah.
Yes, that's a lovely idea. Lovely idea.
I should also add that under Kobe's guidance, we are the award-winning Simple Politics podcast. We won best format at the I think most original format. In fact, it was the only award of the evening that didn't have the word best in it. which is just so SP. We won an award, but we weren't the best at anything.
I think you're underselling yourself there, but also I think also when you submit an award for podcast and any other thing, Tina knows this well. You have to send your clips or at least some kind of GoFundMe. Hopefully, the people listen to it, and I'm sure they did do. I think at the time Charlotte was the host at that time. I was just more in the background, like saying, just upload this and press send. That was my kind of main role. That time Charlotte was the host because I had to stand down for various reasons, and when I did stand down, I was like, it should be Charlotte anyway because she's way better than I am. So it was quite an easy thing to do, and I'm sure that's a big reason why the SP podcast won.
It's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant, and it's so. I think also again in terms of SP being a human place, something that kind of has a human voice to it, and now you're able to be in people's ears. People could hear you talk about it, and similarly, and to give a shout out now to Lottie, who I believe was last joined. Having videos, being online, being on TikTok, being on Instagram, you just kind of expanded where SP has been, and you're reaching out to more people in that way, and I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, I mean, Lottie coming in has been fantastic. It's just really just a completely different skill set that's new to the team, really helping us do new things. I mean, thinking of new things is also Simple Money now that we've launched recently. Trying to do the same things we've done with SP, just with money, talking about really serious things that matter in a way that's human. Like, have you seen the financial influencers out there? They're all horrid. They're just terrible. Like, I know more than you. All of it is I know more than you. And that has been something that SP has never done. The I know more than you message. In fact, we frequently point out that we know less than you.
I think that's absolutely to your favour. I love the fact that Charlotte read US politics for dummies. I love the fact that Kobe you weren't that bothered before, but I think that's important. And it's one of the reasons I work with you, because I was like, I know nothing about this, but I can give you a picture of a cat dressed as a police officer. So
when my children heard that you were on the podcast, actually no, it wasn't when they heard you on the podcast. They heard you were coming here to watch Eurovision with them. They were like, "What, Tiernan, police cat guy?"
Yeah,
this was a joke that Tiernan made 8 years ago. They saw Tiernan make this joke 8 years ago, and police cats are part of their fabric now.
It's still key. It's still the fact that their sirens go meow meow. That's like the key gag right there. And the other gag that was in it, which we've managed to do now, because I joked to you in that's you were like, politics, it's all about political parties, and I was like, hooray, jelly and ice cream. But right now, 10 years, it is the Simple Politics birthday. We're having an actual party with everyone, which is my preferred type of party anyway. What was that? What did you just wave in front of the camera, Kobe?
I just waved a small Lego X-Wing ship.
That's what every party needs.
That's what
so I know. Right. I think what would be good. You've got what's in the next 10 years. It's obviously going to be very calm, very quiet. Should we just go around and check? I mean, I'm hoping at some point, Tatton, that there are so many different simple this, simple that, until you get to Simple Minds, just for sheer copyright issues that you may come up against. But quick go around. What should we predict? What Simple Politics does in the next 10 years, or what the world does? It's probably easier to predict the next Simple Politics.
I mean, yeah, no one's got an idea about the world.
No, let's. Should we go around in order? Everyone, chip in when you like. Who thinks what's next for Simple Politics? Where will it be in 2035. Oh my god!
I think people will be able to like and share our posts just using the power of their mind. So
Nice.
yes, that's what I'm hoping for.
That's lovely. And again, you got to be careful with the Simple Minds thing there, but I
Yeah.
like it. It's very good, Dan. Hattie, were you about to jump in there?
No, I was going to say you're going to be going to the moon with or space with Katy Perry. Is what maybe like sponsoring Katy Perry or Simple Money.
Oh God, please don't let Katy Perry be an SP's future in any way.
I like Simple Space though, or Simple Planets. I think there's definitely something there.
I think that's got to be the plan. Become a billionaire, have my own space program, Simple Space, done. Don't help people, help nobody.
You can explain to people all the logistics of there's zero oxygen outside right now, and this is how the spacecraft works, and they can really not enjoy any second of it.
I could have ended tuberculosis around the world, but instead I'm doing this. Brilliant.
Charlotte, what do you think?
I think we're going to have our first elected politician who says that they learn about politics through Simple Politics.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
That's really good.
That's brilliant. That's hilarious.
That's very
and
good.
Possible.
Very possible.
Yeah.
Very possible.
I like that.
Yeah. Kobe, any thoughts?
I'm just thinking about the different platforms that will exist then that don't exist now, and whether and how Simple Politics will grow and expand to cover all those different platforms and the different kind of media that people want. And going along the Simple Minds thing, I'm sure there'll be a telepathic medium, just being stuff straight into people's brains.
Sooner than that, I think there's got to be a virtual Simple Politics where they come and sit next to you in your shed, Tatton, and you can just talk to them directly to their face. They'll pop on their goggles and they'll be, "Hey, I'm in the Simple Politics shed."
How about simple dating? You can have your own. That's a no.
I mean, listen. You never know. Like, honestly, if Simple Money works, there might be more simples. Like there's lots of things that people might like a hand with. You know, and it could be more frivolous, like simple showbiz, simple celebrity to just keeps you up to date with what's going on in the world of celebrities. I couldn't write it, but if that'd be something useful that people would like to have in their feed, then maybe we can do that kind of thing. Like, there's no
Simple Sport.
Yes, but like, if we can tell useful stories in a human way, then that's what we'll do. We're never going to do it in another way. We're never going to just try and move into a space and then do lots of shouting, because that's what they do in sports, sports broadcasting. But sports broadcasting does need more relaxed human conversations.
I think alongside the Simple Money thing, which is something which I'm like, right now we're going through a remortgage, and my God, we've wasted so much money because we've been titting about. And if someone had said like 4 months ago, just get on with it, we would have saved literally thousands of pounds. But things like Simple Sport, I mean, a good friend from university met up with him a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about some high level sport, and he was like, "Mate, I have no idea what you're talking about." And there is that kind of like lost connection. I feel there's, with the Simple brand, there's that connecting people in ways that just need to like help them out. So when it comes to the Olympics, it's like, okay, what actually is this dive they're going to do? Or when it comes to golf, why is the Masters so important? When it comes to this year, got the women's UEFA, and it's like, guys, this is where was women's football like 30 years ago, kind of thing. It was illegal in the UK
But it all depends. And I know Charlotte's got to go, so we've got to finish. But it all depends on Simple Money now. Simple Money's been launched specifically and intentionally around our 10th birthday, because it's time to try something new. And if that does do well, and I hope it does, it's a really important platform. I really believe in it. If that does do well, then who knows? Who knows? And Charlotte's face tells us that if we did simple timekeeping, then she would be a lot happier.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's fine. No one's come to claim this room, so I can stay a little longer.
You're right. I still think, and then Simple Politics, the movie, Timothy Chalamet, he does everything now. So probably Timothy Chalamet crying on a beach.
On the Rock.
I think it's a good, I think that's next. definitely. I think. Thank you for asking me, Tosh. It's been a pleasure. It's nice to see you all. I think it's your birthday. I think we need to get our party hats on and wish Simple Politics a massive happy birthday.
Yes.
Oh my God!
So have
you just made that balloon animal, Charlotte?
Not just. I made it at the start, but yeah.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Got a very long tail.
So you're saying you want a little tune on my flute? Is that what you want?
I think it's what all the listeners want. It's what they've been crying out for 10 years.
I'm going to go for an orange one.
Oh God. Well, that's the SB podcast, isn't it? Broken everyone's ears.
Oh my goodness, that just happened live!
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday,
Happy birthday! You could have told us what we were going to say.
Yeah, no, I think you need to say before.
I wanted to go without planning, like the whole history of Sim. I thought I'd go in line with the theme
Dive
of this
into
podcast.
it and see what happens.
Right.
If I planned it,
Chaos.
it wouldn't have worked.
Chaos, no planning, laughter, something actually quite important.
Yeah.
That's what we've done for 10 years. So Tiernan smashed it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. Happy birthday, mate. Happy birthday, all of you lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, for being here today. Thank you for everything you've done over the last 10 years. Thank you, lovely listener. We haven't even spoken about you and how important you are. But don't you worry. The posts on SP will be mawkish, sentimental, and really, really over the top. And I've got a lot. You're in there a lot. I do love you, and you matter. Thank you, guys.